Friday, everybody. Welcome in to Morning in the Valley. It is Friday, August the 29th. So glad you are with us today as we wrap up a long week. It'll be a short week next week. Labor Day coming up on Monday, so we will not have a program on Monday. We'll be back on Wednesday, September the 3rd. So enjoy your Monday, hopefully with a day off and a little R&R out there as summer slowly sliding through our fingertips. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we'll have my conversation from last night with Harry Schroeder, the Valley Hoops insider. He has been doing the work here in the last couple of weeks, making up for some lost time when his real life took him away from this silly basketball stuff. But he has been talking to all kinds of folks from around the Valley, coaches, players, and we'll talk with him about those conversations. Also pick his brain a little bit on the cloud sort of hanging over all of our heads right now, at least a hypothetical cloud in terms of conference expansion and what he thinks will happen when we get to next year. So we'll talk with Harry in just a couple of minutes. If you haven't done so already, please head over to YouTube, find Morning in the Valley, subscribe for free, where you can find all of our old episodes, old interview clips as well. But you'll be notified every time we go live, but it will continue to help us grow, and we could not do that without you. So we appreciate all of you have subscribed already. And if you haven't, very easy to do. Just go over, click the button, and help us out. So we appreciate that. All right, time for headlines of the morning here on a Friday. And Jordan Boyd is a 6'4" guard from DeSmet Jesuit in St. Louis. His head coach is Kent Williams, one of the all-timers at Southern Illinois University, part of that Sweet 16 team back in 2002. Kent spent some time in the college game coaching, but is now coaching on the high school ranks up there in St. Louis at DeSmet Jesuit. Jordan Boyd had an offer from Southern Illinois University, but literally Monday, 4 days ago, a gentleman by the name of Ben Jacobson out of Cedar Falls, Iowa, swooped in and said, Jordan Boyd, we'd love to have you come to UNI and be a Panther. And it took all of 72 hours for Jordan Boyd to commit to Northern Iowa and Ben Jacobson. So I don't know what happened in the last 72 hours, but this is about as quick of a courtship as you're ever going to see in the recruiting ranks. And I know Coach Williams is ecstatic for him, even if maybe there's just a little teeny tiny bit of his heart that's broken that Jordan not going to Carbondale. This summer, he has had a bunch of offers. You could call him a late bloomer, but a lot of offers in the last 2 months or so. North Dakota State, SIU, SEMO, SIU Edwardsville, Eastern Illinois, Valpo. Miami of Ohio was his first Division I offer back on June the 1st. So everything's kind of come here late. The last one was Northern Iowa 3 days ago. And for Jordan Boyd, the 6'4" wing out of St. Louis, that was home. So he will be playing for Coach Jacobson coming up next year. It is Hall of Fame induction night at Northern Iowa this evening. And one young lady that will be honored is the former Diane Roberts. Now, Diane Harms. She will be inducted into the UNI Hall of Fame tonight. One of the just groundbreakers for that UNI women's basketball program, native of Eldora, Iowa, played at UNI from 1984 to 1988. Finished her career with 1,701 points. And that at the time was the all-time leading scorer in UNI history. She is still 6th on the all-time Panther scoring list, but she is number 1 for career scoring average, 16.8 points per game over the course of her entire 4-year career, still number 1 with a bullet. And tonight, Diane Roberts Harms will be inducted into the UNI Hall of Fame, the official banquet and celebration tonight. They'll be honored tomorrow afternoon at the football game at halftime as well, where they'll be recognized. But congratulations to Diane Harms for being a Hall of Famer. Speaking of the past and honoring the past, there's some Valley flavor in Champaign, Illinois this weekend. The Illini football team opening up their 2025 season tonight. They'll be taking on Western Illinois. And this weekend, they'll be honoring, it's the 20-year anniversary of that team that played for a national championship in 2005. Had a center by the name of Roger Powell, Valparaiso's head coach. He is expected to be there tonight, along with former SIU head coaches Bruce Weber and Chris Lowry. Weber, of course, the head coach there in Champaign in 2005. Lowry was his assistant. It is that is one of my favorite teams, and I think part of it was being from doing the TV stuff at that time, and that was the second year of. I mean, they won Big Ten championship in 2004, won it again in 2005, went on that long undefeated streak. Of course, got all the way to the Final Four, get to the national championship game, and it was just a team that I paid closer attention to with Bruce Weber, who I'd covered him at SIU, and so you're kind of pulling for him, but every time it shows up on social media, it is an absolute everything stop. It's like uh, the Shawshank Redemption for me in the sporting world is the 2005 Elite Eight game from Chicago with Illinois and Arizona, where Illinois is down. What were they down 15 with 2 minutes or so to go, and D. Williams and Luther Head and just Roger Powell just went off and closed, got to overtime, win the game, and it was just I remember where I was standing in the newsroom watching that game when it happened, just yelping with every three that would get thrown up at the end, and it was nuts and just an absolute all-time game and an all-time team that'll be honored tonight. They'll be honored at the football game tonight. There'll be a luncheon tomorrow to honor them as well. But Roger Powell, Bruce Weber, Chris Lowry, all expected to be in Champaign this weekend to have a nice reunion. Looking back at 20 years ago, and goodness, we're all getting old very, very quickly. Speaking of Valparaiso, head coach Courtney Boyd has gotten a commitment, and that young lady's name right there is Danny Guedette. She is the first commitment from the 2026 class for Courtney Boyd, and she has made it official. She is from Washington, Illinois, Washington Community High School. Our friend Paul Oren from the victorybelt.com connecting some dots that Danny Guedette is from the same high school as former Valpo great Alec Peters. So a little bit of some connective tissue there between those two schools. And obviously, if Danny can have half the career that Alec Peters had, this is going to be one heck of a signing for Courtney Boyd. 6-foot wing, third team All-State last year for Washington Community High School. Led her team to a Class 3A, third place finish in the state of Illinois. Again, maybe a little bit of an under-the-radar kid. 6-foot wing, one Division I offer before Valpo swooped in and was able to nab her. She got that from Chicago State, and that was like a year ago. So a relatively recent offer from Valpo, and Danny Guedette jumps on it. And so congratulations to her for committing. And we're 2 months away or so from signing day, where it can be officially official. More scheduling news. This time, Murray State's women get their non-conference schedule released. The defending Missouri Valley Conference regular season and tournament champions. A little bit of a new look, obviously, when you lose the greatest player in the history of the program in Caitlin Young, Ava Learn, a couple all-league kids, all gone. But there's a lot of pieces back. And the thing about when it's one of those, you see the kids back and you don't necessarily attach classes to them. But when I went, and that young lady right there on your screen, Briley Pena, she is the only senior on this team. So it will be a new look team this year when you lose a Caitlin Young, a 3,000 point score. But they're kind of built up to sustain this here for a couple of years. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. The schedule this year, you've got 4 home games, 2 neutrals, 5 road games. And really, from a metric standpoint, it's obviously you'd love more home games. You'd hate to play 5 roadies, but the road ones are good. The home games metrically are good. You got 3 quad 4 games at home. You've got 2 quad 1s on the road. I mean, it's really quad 1s or quad 4s. That's where we are, and that's kind of what you want. the games, the best games, if you will, on their schedule are the road games. And I mean, they're going to open. They're going to go to Southern Indiana, who's one of the better teams in the Ohio Valley Conference. It's going to be a quad three game, and this is one of those danger games. Where it's like the quad three games can't really help you. Boy, they can hurt you. Last year, Southern Indiana came to Murray and beat the Racers, and it was really one of those games that for Murray was it was like, holy cow, what is it was early in the year, it was an education day game, and you just think, hey, we're going to be able to take care of this, and it didn't. And that was maybe a day that the championship DNA was firmly entrenched, because the fallout from that was uh, there was an attitude adjustment in the program for sure, and obviously things went out well. They're going to go play South Dakota State. They are the best mid-major program in the country right now. Won 30 games last year. We're a 10 seed in the tournament. Won a game in the tournament. That's a huge game for the Racers early on. They're going to Illinois to play there, and listen, Champaign, Illinois is I looked this up last night. It's 27 miles from Oakwood, Illinois. 27 miles, a mere stone's throw. Oakwood, Illinois is the home of Caitlin Young, who again scored 3,000 points in her collegiate career and is the all-time at Murray State. And I just find it wildly convenient that when the hometown kid finally is no longer able to hurt us, that Illinois is like, yeah, we'll play you now. We'll take care of you now. So Illinois, that's going to be a quad one game. They're going to Moorhead State, which is just a homecoming for Haven Ford, second team all league guard from Moorhead, Kentucky. Rochelle Turner likes to have a game where for her kids that they can go play in front of their as close to a hometown game as they can on the road. Austin P, that's a rivalry game for forever with Murray State. So, I mean, that's a quad four. The Daytona Beach Classic, this is really the wild card on the whole schedule. There's an expectation. Those are going to be quad one, quad two games. Right now, we have no clue who's in that tournament. It is not apparently at this point one of the better run MTEs in the country, because there is no information. There is no pool of teams. There are no brackets. There are no matchups. There are nothing. And on August the 29th, it's like, yeah, it'd kind of be nice to know who we're playing at some point. We know Murray State's in it. This is the same company that's running that Music City Classic we talked about on Wednesday that Drake is in, that we know Drake's women are in, and no matchups, no pairings, no pools of teams, no date, nothing. So hopefully this will all get kumbaya here soon enough. But the Racers home games, I mean, you got St. Louis, Memphis, teams that are down right now, but you expect them to be able to carry their weight a little bit. So, I mean, they're quad four games now. Those could improve as they improve, and then a home and home with UAB. So, Murray State schedule, Q1s, Q4s, that's what you'd like. You'd love them to get them at home. They just can't get anybody to come to Murray. So they'll go on the road and take on South Dakota State and Illinois. Page 2. Iowa releasing their non-conference schedule, and they might as well be de facto members of the Missouri Valley this year. They're going to play in a week's time. 3 teams from the Valley. We knew they would be hosting Drake on November 13th. We knew they'd be going to Northern Iowa November the 16th. Coach Scher there at Evansville told us the other day they'd be playing Iowa. Well, they're going to play them November the 9th. So it's the 9th, the 13th, the 16th. Valley. Iowa, that is most certainly a Q1 game. If they can maintain what they've been 24 in the net a season ago, and they have just their trajectory the last 5 years for very good reason has been very, very good, but able in the post Caitlin Clark era, able to maintain that last year. So hopefully they can continue to be that good metrically, and hopefully our teams can go over and knock them off and help their cause out considerably. Robert Morris has, on the men's side, have released their schedule. We told you about they will be playing at Drake on November the 6th. The new addition is they'll be playing UIC at home in, I believe that is Moon Township, Pennsylvania. That'll be November the 26th. UIC will head over and play Robert Morris. 181 in the Bart Torvik projections for this year. So be a quad 3 game for UIC. Hopefully, maybe Robert Morris can improve a little bit, and maybe climb that into a Q2 game for the Flames. But still waiting on that completed schedule. We've got a lot of pieces for UIC. Still waiting for the final product. Hopefully, that will be out soon enough. I saw somebody, and I hate the fact that I did not write the creator of this fine graphic down, but that aggregated all this information from the Bart Torvik site about roster continuity and returning minute percentage. And he's like, out of the major conferences, and so, probably the top 10, 12, 14, he didn't say specifically how many, but out of those top conferences in the country, it just struck me there. Northern Iowa has the largest chunk of returning minutes in the country with 72%. We're going to talk about Harry Schroeder. We're going to talk with Harry Schroeder about that in just a couple of minutes. We've talked about a lot of teams in the Valley this summer. I feel like Northern Iowa's kind of just below the radar. Haven't maybe gotten as much conversation around them as maybe they should have. They got a lot coming back. Illinois State, 6th most in the country. We've all been talking about them since March when everybody announced they were coming back. On the least returning side, I don't know. There's some fuzzy math going on because they have Murray State in the second column there with less than 1% of returning minutes. That's just a straight zero. That Murray State has, when you have 15 new guys, you've got no time coming back. So they are there. Drake is in that second column with the less than 1%. Andrew Aaliyah played 55 minutes all of last season for the Bulldogs. So he qualifies as that less than 1%. So that is really, the continuity when you look at Northern Iowa, Illinois State. Those are going to be the teams that are 1 and 2 in the preseason polls because everybody loves guys come back. We love that. The story for the year will be, here's Murray with all that potential, all those guys we've talked about, all those guys we've heard about coming in. Are they going to be able to reach the expectation levels? And then you have Drake with, Eric Henderson's coming down. He's a first-year head coach too, but can Drake do it again? This was them last year when Ben McCollum came in, and it's like you're flipping the thing, but it's like now it is ingrained over there. Back to back years of getting to the NCAA tournament and now winning regular season championships with nobody back. Andrew Aaliyah in his 55 minutes. Is that enough? Can they do it again? And those are going to be really some of the great storylines we're going to be following this season here in the Valley. All right, time to welcome in Harry Schroeder. He's the Valley Hoops Insider. Got a chance to talk to him last night about some of the work he's been pumping out here in recent days, but also look ahead to some of the storylines he's looking forward to. And we'll go back to that big bad expansion word and get his thoughts on that as well. So here's my conversation from last evening with the Valley Hoops Insider. Here is Harry Schroeder. There's our man, Harry Schroeder. He's the Valley Hoops Insider, back from a summer of bettering children's lives across the great Midwest. And thankfully, he is back to, I think we're beyond saving here on Morning in the Valley, but glad he can slum it with us here. Welcome back to the world of basketball, Harry. We've missed you.
It's good to be back. I've got just a couple of passions, and college basketball is one of them. And so I'm glad to be more connected to this one again for this little part of the season anyway.
Well, the Valley Hoops Insider podcast network has been smoking here the last couple of days, making up for lost time, talking to a whole bunch of folks. We'll start with the guy from my neck of the woods, Ryan Miller, the head coach at Murray State, getting ready for season one. Got a chance to go to the Bahamas. I'm sure you were not popping much popcorn to watch their Bahamas stuff with all of your extracurricular activities, but it's been, now 5 months since he's been on duty, and we've gotten to see a little bit of what we can expect. But what was your great takeaway from your half hour or so with Coach Miller?
Yeah, well, I loved getting to know him, and I on purpose didn't talk X's and O's. I didn't talk about players much. I wanted to just kind of get to know him, and really impressed with kind of the passion and directness, a grasp of what needs to be taking place there at Murray and across the college basketball scene. Super impressed with his attention to detail and an affability, and like he wasn't holding the cards back. A lot of guys that are passionate like that, they're keeping everything close to the vest, but he wasn't doing that. He was all out there and sharing stories, and I appreciated getting to know him. Super impressed.
He's worked with some big time guys, and obviously Greg McDermott and John Calipari and Steve Alford and JB Dixon. I mean, it's a heck of a Rolodex to have and to lean on. And folks down in West Kentucky certainly excited about it. I was really, I really was struck by your conversation with David Ragland, Evansville's head coach, as well. And I got a chance to talk with him earlier this summer. And the one thing that jumped out to me and I thought you nailed right off the jump was his boss, Ziggy Siegfried, the athletic director there, that, David Ragland from 30,000 feet has been a head coach for 3 years, and he has not had a winning season. And I think if I took my socks and shoes off and counted my toes, I believe he's 33-66 overall.
That's exactly right.
Thank you. And he got a contract extension. That is in this day and age when attention spans from folks can be very short and patience can be very short. That was one heck of a attaboy from Ziggy Siegfried.
Yeah, I mean, in black and white, like on paper, that was like a reach. Like, why would you do that, right? And yet they're sold on what David's doing. And if you watch and you do, he brings in talented guys every year. And what I think Ziggy realizes, they've got to figure out a way to be relevant financially for the good players that David brings in for them to be able to keep them. And so I think what you're seeing from Mr. Siegfried is that he thinks he's got the right coach. They've got to build the rest of the structure around him for them to be successful. So it's not the coach, it's the rest of the program. And I love a guy that's self-aware like that. And if you watch that interview, it sounds like you did. David talked about how Ziggy goes to bed every night thinking, how can I make Evansville a better place? Wakes up every morning, how can I make it a better place? I'll tell you a short story about Ziggy. I went there to do a women's basketball game. I know you had the coach on the other day, maybe Wednesday. And I went there to do a game for the ESPN Plus package 2 years ago, and I drive there and I get there and, man, where am I going to change my clothes out of I get from the car and, and all that. And so I walk in and I'm talking to him. I said, I just need someplace to change. He goes, well, let me take you down to my office. So I go down to him. I change in his office, leave all my junk in his office. And then after the game, go back and get it. I mean, he couldn't have been more hospitable. The guy's a pro and yet super down to earth. I'm a big fan of Dr. Siegfried.
It really, it's a tough spot, and I remember hearing him a couple months ago. I think it was around the time when everybody was in are we opting in? Are we opting out? And, and it was right before that, because he was talking about our NIL and we're really, if we can really get to, $300,000, maybe $400,000, we're going to have a chance to retain. And it was like, holy cow, buddy. That's just not, it's not enough, and it's not, but I've really been impressed with they're kind of mom and popping it in a way with, we're doing 50-50 raffles and we're doing, these meet and every dollar counts. It doesn't need to be a giant 6-figure check, although I'm sure they would take that, but it's like they're going to scrape this thing together to do everything. And your point, he's going to find a way, hook or by crook with this thing.
You know what? I've talked to a number of coaches just in the last several weeks since I got out of camp mode. And when I talked to all of them on like this in public, and then I talked to them also privately, and for some teams, another $1,000 or another $500 is all it takes.
Yep. It's
really interesting, because we think of, I've heard people say that Bradley's got $1 million and you guys have $500,000, or maybe you have more. I'm talking about Murray State, and you're talking about Ziggy wanting to have 400,000, and all those are big, gigantic numbers. But when you think about the difference between a player leaving and a player staying, it could be as little as an extra $1,000. It could be as little as some restaurant deciding the guy's going to eat for free every week, right, when he comes in, because it's kind of about ego too, right? Yeah. And so the players want to feel loved, desired, appreciated. And so, yeah, I think the mom and pop it, that's a great way to describe what they're trying to do at Evansville. Every $500 could really make a difference.
I spoiler alert for you. And I know it's hard because, everybody lies in this whole process. Right. There's a whole bunch of teams in the Valley that are going to be 7 figures and above this year. And not even $1 million's going to be pretty far in the rear view, and that's the whole point at the bottom. It's like they've got to 300 or 400, you're bringing a spork to a gunfight in a lot of ways there. So hopefully they can do what they can to be, competitive. The thing that, and I commended David Ragland when I talked to him a few months ago, that I said, this is the most silver lining glass half full way to look at it. But you guys are doing a heck of a job recruiting, and it has to be, Ben Hummerkaus off to the Big Ten, and Gabriel Pizzato, off to Xavier. And you're like, we're finding dudes. We just have to be able to strike while we have them, because, the situation is we don't have an opportunity probably to keep them because they're that good, but it reaffirms you're doing the right thing in the evaluation and the recruiting process.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why I said, I think Mr. Siegfried realizes he's doing his part. So we have to come up with our part so that we can succeed more long-term. And I've talked to so many coaches over the last couple of months, and all of them say the same thing. We want to build our team, we want to build our culture, but we can also express to some of these guys, look, give us 2 great years, and you'll be playing in the SEC. They don't shy away from that part of it either, and that's just reality these days. And so if you can find the right guy, be successful for a year or two, and then he goes for greener pastures, you got to pat him on the back. But I think where the big problem is that those players that then they go somewhere else and they don't play, and maybe they make some money, and maybe they don't ever graduate because they're moving around too much, too often. I think that's the bane of all of this. And like, I just looked these numbers up yesterday or today. I think there were 2,500 players in the portal this year out of maybe 5,000 Division I players. So half the players are in the portal, roughly, give or take. And we know that a gigantic percentage of them actually hook on with programs at a lesser level. Mm-hmm. And if they've moved 3 years, 4 years, they also don't graduate because they're not accumulating credits. And so maybe they can get some extra money, but long-term, is it really good for them? And so, I think those are some of the things coaches are also selling to players, that, like, look, if you can stay a couple of years, you got a better chance at graduation. You've got a better chance at building a reputation. I think those things matter too.
I've always been a firm believer that some of the pearl clutching on the portal is a little overblown, just from a standpoint. I've always believed that it's a market correction. Either coaches misevaluated, this kid can't play. A kid goes, he looks around himself and goes, I can't play here. And that's why so many go down. And that's okay. Go find a place and go. But I think, and he's the first name that pops into my head, and there's countless other examples, like Cade Tyson, who was having an all-world career at Belmont, goes to North Carolina and does nothing. And I think that we are now seeing those. We have those tangible examples that can now, this has all been theory for a lot of years, but it's like now that example after example, it's like, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be that guy that goes and doesn't play? Or you can stay here. You're going to get a little less money, but you're going to play. And you're, what's important to you. Some kids, it's dollars. And, and again, to your point, you need good people around you to $100,000 seems like a lot of money. You and I both know $100,000 doesn't last forever. And so but when you're 20, you've just become, the wealthiest person, So I don't know. Hopefully it'll slow down and we can retain a little bit better. And now with this rev share, that can happen. One of my favorite parts about my summer doing this has been a chance to talk to so many of our student athletes and guys that, and I've told them to their face, as the Murray State radio guy, there have been these guys where I'm just like, you are an enemy. And, you're just like, oh, I don't like you. And, Drew Steffi at SIU, him running his mouth. And I'm like, oh, that guy, this. And then you get him on here and I'm like, oh, I like this kid. It's killing me. And it's like so many of them. You got a chance to talk to Brigham Rogers and from Belmont recently. And just another guy that, they've had so many dudes come through there. They've been really, really good. And he's just one of those kind of quiet, kind of under the radar. But boy, he is a huge impact on winning down there for Casey Alexander.
Yeah, and he's pretty quiet when I interviewed him. I mean, he's soft-spoken when we talked the other day. Really like him, and I said to him a couple times in the interview, I always think he's like this close to just exploding. Yeah. When I watch him play, I feel like he's that close. And apparently, Casey's been telling him the same thing. Like you're right there, But he's the Belmont guy, right? Like when you've watched Belmont for years, you bring them in as a freshman and they don't play much, and their sophomore year they play pretty much, and then they're real important their junior year. He started like 30 games last year as a sophomore at Belmont, and if he takes that normal progression, man, he's going to be a handful this year. But they've got 4 or 5 guys that are his size. I think they're going to be very difficult to handle in the front court. But I really like him. I like his game. He's aggressive, physical inside. And so I loved getting to know him a little bit too, and getting to know a little bit of his backstory. And but they've got a lot of guys up front. You know, Sharnosky is there, and they picked up a transfer from a foreign guy, Lemke, who's going to be really good, they think. And so I think they could be a handful. But right across the league has gotten taller.
Yes,
and I think that bodes well for the Valley teams succeeding in non-conference play too.
Money. I've had countless Murray State people go, wow, it's amazing. We have a 7-footer. I don't remember last time we had a 7-footer. Well, it's about time we started recruiting guys. I'm like, money. Like it's this isn't hard. There's only so many tall guys, and you need to have a little something to bring them in, and a little revenue share never hurts anything. As I talked, I don't know. All the days run together at this point. I have spoken recently about, in April, we crowned Illinois State the champion of the offseason, and that they're going to be the pick when we get to October. And I mean, we are weeks away from preseason polls and all that coming out. Has anything happened in your eyes from what you've been able to pay attention to in the last 5 months to unseat Illinois State as the number 1 preseason pick in the Valley?
Gosh, I don't think so. I mean, it got a little nerve-wracking when they decided Scunberg was hurt, but don't worry, he'll be back. I mean, I think those are questions about Illinois State. When I look at each roster, you talked about increased talent and increased size across the league. I think the league is going to be better across the board. I don't know what I expect out of Valpo, nor do I know what I expect out of Indiana State or Evansville. I think those 3 teams are teams that maybe are trailing in the financial arms race, and so we'll see. But even those teams have some guys coming in that look pretty impressive. I think the whole league across the board will be better, but on paper, it still has to be Illinois State. I don't think there's any reason not to think that. But injuries can change all of that, right? Even between now and October. And again, the league will be doing that media blitz with the field of 68 guys this year. And so that'll be interesting to listen to each of those coaches talk to those guys and get the insights that they share as well.
There's been so much talk, obviously, about Illinois State. Murray State got a lot of buzz with a new coach and 15 new guys. Bradley, they just kind of reloading again. Belmont, look at them. And, oh, by the way, hey, Drake's been to the tournament 3 years in a row. And I just was sort of struck the other day driving around thinking about Valley basketball because I have a sickness. But nobody seems to be talking about Northern Iowa very much. And it's like everybody's like, hey, you remember Illinois State? They got all these guys back. And it's like, yeah, Northern Iowa's got like 11 dudes back. And I know you lost Titan Anderson and his force of nature, and you lose Jacob Hudson, but they got a lot. It's like they're kind of just quietly sitting over there in the corner, and feels like we're, if you're not on board, you probably need to be there sooner than later with those guys.
Yeah, no, I'm bullish on Northern Iowa. I think they're second or third right now, personally, because of all that continuity and those guys coming back. And Jake has picked up another guy or two, but that continuity is a big deal, and they know how to do what they do, right? And they've got a bunch of guys that have proven that they're good enough at that level. Now, somebody's got to be the alpha, right? And Titan was that guy. And that's the question. I can't remember what coach I was talking to recently. I said, do you have to have an alpha? Like, is that really important? It was probably Brian Baroni at Southern Illinois Edwardsville because their all-time leading scorer just graduated.
Yeah.
And like, okay, you got a lot of guys, you've got a lot of depth, you have to have an alpha. And I think that is the question for Northern Iowa is like, who's the ringleader? Who's going to go get that big bucket or be the pace setter? But I think they're going to be right in the mix without a doubt.
Here we sit late August, and the countdown is on. We're 9 weeks or so away from the start of the season. What storyline, good, bad, or indifferent, maybe has you most intrigued heading into the year?
It's a great question, Jeff. I think, your money question is a big deal, right? And I saw your podcast with Vance the other day about expansion. Will expansion be something that erupts in our midst, and after the turn of the year? But I think beyond that, I do think the story is the Valley becoming a big man league. I mean, you look across the rosters, everybody's got 2 or 3 guys, 6'9", 6'10", 7-footers. And I think that is such a change for this league that they could do some real damage in the non-conference in a way that it sets them up for something when we get around to Arch and then March Madness, which, by the way, the first 2 rounds will be in St. Louis this year. And so got a chance for some home cooking potentially, right? But I think those are the stories, the things that I'm really paying attention to. Who emerges, right? What guards are going to emerge to be the people? When I did the Brigham Rogers story, I put up a picture at the beginning of the story, and it's him driving on Chase Walker, 2 of the guys that are going to be battling. But I think there's a ton of matchup kind of people like that who will be the players that really emerge that we don't really know who they are yet. And I think Murray State's the prime example, right? We don't know who any of these guys are. We can read their credentials. We think that they're good players based on what they did other places. But I think the kind of mystery team is Murray State. I think that they're going to be good, but how good? Are they going to just ascend because of all the different players they've got coming in? And we don't know enough about those guys yet to have a preconceived idea. So I think watching Murray is going to be gigantically huge.
Yeah, I'm got in this conversation this week and with somebody. I was like, look, they are the all potential team. Their ceiling is very, very high. All these guys that have just been, they're distressed assets at other places and just haven't had their chance, and they're going to get their chance. And how high they want to go, that's going to be, ultimately up to them. From spinning out of the conversation with Van Sawyer from the March to the Arch, saying, hey, we're going to have 14 next year. What's your magic number? And his magic number, I think, was 10, which we're still going backwards. But at 11 now, the commissioner last summer is like, look, we're fine with 11. Everything's okay with 11. We don't have to, have to get too excited. But if there's going to be some movement, do you like 12? Do you like 14? Where would you like this thing to settle at?
That's a great question. I think 12 is a better number than 11, personally. When you look at, I think it was the Big Ten, somebody from the Big Ten today, or maybe it was I think it was the Big Ten. One of the big wigs of the Big Ten, it was yesterday or today, said, oh, we're still going to expand. And so I do think leagues like the Valley have to figure out how to build their borders, right? How to build the parapets to keep the enemy from encroaching. And so it might really be a 14-team league that is strong enough to repel the advances of the outside forces. But I think it gets so darn bulky at 14 personally, and so 12 feels better to me. But I quizzed Vance. I called him a couple times. Like, come on, tell me your sources. Tell me, come on. I don't believe you. And he wouldn't budge, which I couldn't believe it. But I can see it. I can see it as the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC, they keep gobbling up people. It seems to me that there's going to be some power bases they're going to have to get strong. And if the Valley's going to survive the encroachment of people trying to steal Bradley or Drake from them or whatever, they might have to get bigger.
I think if there's going to be additives, they have to be schools that just don't have football. We can't get into the football business in any way, because as the Ohio Valley Conference has learned, that the Ohio Valley Conference has splintered in the last 5 or 6 years because they lost Jacksonville State and they lost Austin Peay, and they're now going to lose Tennessee Tech for football reasons, and Eastern Kentucky for football reasons. And then, Murray and State and Belmont thankfully had a place that they could go land, but everybody's chasing football money. And even if it's in the Sun Belt or whatever. And that's why I think, these options that seem to get thrown out, whether it's a St. Thomas or it's an Omaha or it's a Milwaukee or, all of those ideas you can punch holes in all of them. But I think the best thing about all of those options are they don't have football, because you can't have split loyalties in that fact, because at the end of the day, those presidents, if they get a better offer somewhere down the line and it's football related, they'll bolt again, and then we're right back to where we've been.
I think you're right. I mean, that's why the Missouri Valley lost Missouri State. I mean, Missouri State hasn't won a thing in basketball, and frankly, hadn't won hardly anything in football.
Right.
But they can go chase the extra dollar in a football conference in a quote unquote Division I or whatever 3 letters that they are.
Yes.
And that's why they lost. Missouri State's got no business going into that conference, but now they can, and I wish them the best, right? But I agree with you. I think the football component is what is tearing apart mid-major basketball in a lot of ways. And so if you can focus on non-football schools, I think you're better off.
And the best part when you don't get football schools is all of their money can go to basketball. That you don't have to worry about funding football. And this is what this arms race now is. It's all about it. All right. If you get one, I'll let you be the commissioner for the day. You get to get one to come in to make it 12. Who's your 12th team?
You know, ever since going all the way back to when Murray and Belmont were coming in and Valpo was coming in, I was really bullish on Milwaukee. It's a gigantic school to begin with. I think the Valley recruits Wisconsin quite a bit, and I think that it's just got great potential to come into the league and to be a presence because of its size. And so to me, I think that is the place I would go. And I do think that if you think about them, they kind of fit. You think Milwaukee, you know, there's the Chicago element, there's the different, you know, they're within distance of some places.
Right.
So I think geography makes sense too. I like the fact that it's just a massive campus with a massive student body, and it gives you an opportunity to really build something.
He's Harry Schroeder. He's the Valley Hoops Insider podcast in the last week with Ryan Miller and David Ragland and Brigham Rogers. More coming. Where can folks find you when they want to go listen to this great stuff?
ValleyHoopsInsider.com. That's what it's called. Yep, that's what it's called. I'm on Twitter. I still call it that. At Father Harry 1. We're on YouTube, and it's probably, I don't even know if there's a title for it on YouTube, but
Valley Hoops Insider. You can find it that way. There you go.
So yeah, I talked with Jonathan Maddox. We're going to have that up for Morehead State, former Murray State guy. Talking to Kyle Gerdeman the end of this week, another OVC guy at Lindenwood. So yeah, we're cranking it out.
There was Harry Schroeder from last night. Appreciate him for coming on, as he's always very self-deprecating about the invitations to come on, about being an innings eater, and it's anything but. He's one of the great voices and always has some of the best perspectives in covering this league for as long as he has. So glad to have him with us today. Thank you for being with us today as well. Again, no show Monday. It is Labor Day. Enjoy the day off, sleep in. I will be, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another episode here on Morning in the Valley. If you haven't done so already, please head to YouTube, search out Morning in the Valley, subscribe for free. All our past shows, interview clips, notifications when future shows are coming. They're all there, and it will continue to help us grow as we are now steamrolling ahead into the 60s. With the amount of days left before we get to November 3rd and the season opener for the 2025-26 season. Enjoy your Friday, everybody. Enjoy your long weekend, and we will see you on Wednesday, 9 a.m. right here on Morning in the Valley.